Starting over at 35 while you're trying to act like you are excited about it all the time is exhausting. Because the truth is, some days I wake up full of hope and other days I'm craving a life that I genuinely thought would have worked out. And sometimes those two women are me on the exact same day. I can spend the morning thinking, this is it. I am rebuilding my life and I am going to make this work. I'm actually excited about what's coming. Then by 9 p.m., I'm sitting on my bed thinking, I really didn't think my life would look like this at 35. And I have started realizing that both of those things can be true. I don't have to choose one. I can be excited about my future and still be super sad about my past. I can know that I made the right decision and still miss parts of the life that decision ended. I can be so grateful about where I am right now and still wish that certain things had gone differently. And honestly, I wish someone had told me about this before I started rebuilding my life. Because I had this idea that once I made the decision to change my life, I was supposed to become this incredibly resilient, optimistic woman who wakes up every morning excited to build her future. She's got her little notebook. She's drinking her water every day. She's working on her goals. She's healing. She's building her business. She is becoming her best self. But meanwhile, I'm sometimes standing in my kitchen wondering what on I'm doing. And I think that's part of starting over that doesn't get talked about enough. We talk about the decision. We talk about living. We talk about the glow up. We talk about rebuilding your finances. We talk about becoming independent. And we also talk about finding yourself again. We talk about the new exciting chapter. But there is this weird, messy middle where you're technically moving forward while emotionally you are still looking backwards. And I've been living in that messy middle for a while now. The last 2 years, I've changed almost every major part of my life. My 12-year marriage ended. I became a single mom. The businesses that I had worked so incredibly hard to build slowed down. And the financial stability that I thought I had built disappeared. And I've had to rethink my career, my home, my friendships, my faith, my confidence, my identity, even what I thought success was supposed to look like. And there are days when I genuinely look at all of that and think, okay, fine, let's rebuild. I'm actually excited about the rebuilding journey. I like the idea of creating a new life that feels more intentional and more like mine. I like having choices that I didn't have before. I like the fact that I'm finally asking questions I probably should have asked so many years ago. And there is so much about this next chapter that I am so genuinely excited about. But then there are other days, and those days do not care about how motivated I was yesterday. They just show up. Maybe something reminds me of the life that I thought I was going to. Maybe I see someone else living the version of the future that I once assumed would be mine. Maybe it's honestly something completely stupid, like a photo or a song plays or an ordinary Tuesday when the kids have gone to bed and the house is quiet. And suddenly I remember, oh, right, this isn't the life that I thought I would be living. And I think that grief is different when the person that you're grieving isn't dead. When the thing that you are grieving isn't necessarily something that you even want back. You are grieving a future. You are grieving a version of your life that never got to happen. And that is a very strange thing to explain to somebody. Because if I tell someone that I'm grieving my old life, they might assume that I want it back. But I absolutely do not. That's the complicated part about this. I can know that leaving my marriage was the right decision for me to make and still grieve the fact that I once genuinely believed that we would grow old together. Those things do not cancel each other out. I can be excited about rebuilding my business and still grieve the financial security and freedom that I used to have. I can love being a mother and still grieve the version of motherhood that I thought I would experience. I can be excited about becoming someone new and still miss the woman that I used to be. And I think we've made grief too far binary. Either you wanted the thing, you are sad about losing it, or you didn't want it and therefore you should be grateful and fine about it. But real life doesn't work like that, does it? Sometimes you can leave something because you know it's wrong for you and still mourn what you hoped it could have been. Sometimes you are not actually grieving the actual thing. You are grieving the promise that you attached to it. And that distinction has honestly helped me enormously because for a while I thought that feeling sad meant that I wasn't moving forward. properly. I would have a really good week. I would feel motivated. I would make plans. I would work on my business. I would exercise. I would spend time with my children, and I would feel genuinely hopeful. And then I would have a terrible evening and immediately just think, why am I back here? As if the healing and the rebuilding was supposed to be this upward line, like better, 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 done. But that's not what it's been like for me, at least. It's more like I've been building with one hand and carrying something with the other. And some days the thing that I'm carrying feels very light. Other days it feels ridiculously heavy. And I think I've finally stopped treating those heavier days as days that I am falling behind. They are just part of the process right now. There's actually a psychological concept that helped me to understand some of all these, and it's called ambiguous loss. It's used to describe losses that don't actually have the kind of clean ending that we usually associate with grief. And I think that gets close to what happens when you're grieving a life, an identity, a relationship, or a future that isn't as simple as it's gone and that's the end of the story. Sometimes the person is still alive. Sometimes parts of the old life are still around you. And sometimes you know you don't want them back at all. And yet you are still mourning something. You're mourning the expectation, the identity, the future, the sanctity, and the person that you thought you would become. And once I understood that, I stopped asking myself, why am I still so sad? And started asking myself a much more useful question. What exactly am I grieving? Because those are two very different questions. Maybe I'm grieving the security. Maybe I'm grieving the woman that I thought I would become at 35. Maybe I'm grieving the financial freedom that I had before. Or maybe I'm grieving time. Maybe I'm grieving the fact that I spent so many years building something that didn't turn out the way I thought that it would. Or maybe I'm just tired. And honestly, sometimes that's the answer as well. I think one of the hardest things about rebuilding your life is that people can see progress before you emotionally even feel it yourself. Someone might look at my life and say, but you're doing so much. You are rebuilding your business. You are creating content. You are taking care of the kids. You are figuring things out. And they are right. I am. But progress doesn't automatically erase the grief. You can be making progress while still having moments where you are wishing you didn't have to be making progress at all. And that's a sentence that I wish more people say out loud. Sometimes I don't want another lesson. Sometimes I don't want to be resilient. Sometimes I just want to admit this is really hard and then get up the next morning and keep going anyway. Because I think we've confused resilience with never being affected. And I don't think that's resilience at all. That's performance. Real resilience, at least the kind that I am learning right now, looks much less impressive. Sometimes it looks like just getting up when you slept badly previous night. Sometimes it looks like doing the boring admin. Sometimes it looks like making dinner when you would rather order takeout. Sometimes it looks like opening your laptop and working on the business when you have absolutely no idea it's going to work. Sometimes it looks like crying for 20 minutes and then making the school run anyway. Sometimes it looks like admitting that you are jealous of someone else's life and refusing to let that jealousy make you hate your own life. Sometimes it looks like saying that I'm genuinely happy for them and this still hurts me, because both can be true. And I think that's the part that I'm learning to make more room for right now. The future doesn't need me to pretend that the past didn't matter. And I don't have to hate my whole life to build a new one. I don't have to rewrite history and decide that everything was terrible just because it ended. There were good things. There were beautiful chapters. There were things that I loved, and there were things that I learned. There were parts of myself during that chapter that I wouldn't trade away. And there were things that just couldn't continue. And that's life. It's messy and it doesn't always give you a neat villain and a neat ending and a neat lesson. Sometimes you just get a very complicated story and have to decide what you are taking with you and what you're leaving behind. And that's actually where I've landed with this rebuilding that I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to erase the woman that I was. I'm just trying to understand her. I am trying to figure out what she got right, what she got wrong, what she tolerated, what she believed, what she was afraid of, and what she wanted but didn't say out loud. What she thought she had to become to be loved, successful, safe, or accepted. And then I am taking all of that information into the next chapter. That's why I don't really believe that starting over means starting from zero. Because I am starting from experience. I am starting from evidence. I am starting from everything that I know now that I didn't know before. And yes, some of that knowledge was very, very expensive. Some of it hard. Some of it I would rather have learned another way, but it's mine now. And maybe that's what makes rebuilding different from simply replacing what you lost. You're not recreating the old life with different furniture. You are deciding what actually deserves to come with you. And that takes time. So if you're in that weird place too, where you're genuinely excited about what's next, but still occasionally devastated about what isn't, I want you to know that I don't think that you're doing it wrong. If you have a great week and then suddenly you have a horrible day, that doesn't erase the great week. And if you're excited about your future and sad about your past, that doesn't make you confused. If you made the right decision and still miss something about the life that you left behind, that doesn't mean that you should go back. And if you're rebuilding your life at 35, 45, 55, 65 or whatever, and keep thinking that I should be farther along now, I would question that too. Farther along to what exactly? Someone else's timeline? Someone else's definition of success, or a version of adulthood that you inherited before you even knew you were allowed to question it? I'm trying to stop measuring my rebuild by how quickly I can make it look good. I'm much more interested in whether it actually feels true. And that means some days are going to look incredibly productive, and some days are going to look like me just doing absolutely nothing except getting through the day. And both are part of the rebuild, because maybe rebuilding isn't just one emotional state. Maybe it's a relationship between two things happening at the exact same time. One part of you is saying, look what's possible. And another part is saying, but look at what we lost. And neither one has to win. You can listen to both of them. You can grieve and build. You can remember and move forward. You can be scared and still make the decision. You can be tired and still take the next step. You can miss what was and still choose what comes next. And honestly, that's where I am right now. I don't have some beautiful ending to this because I'm still living in it right now. There are still days where I feel so incredibly hopeful about my future. And I'm still having days where I look at my life and think, this is not what I thought it would be. And maybe that's okay. Because maybe I don't need to force myself to feel excited about every part of starting over. Maybe I just need to keep showing up for the life that I am building, even on the days when I miss the life that I thought I would have. Because the goal isn't to become excited about the future that you stop caring about the past. The goal is to make peace with the fact that both can exist, that you can grieve the life that didn't happen and still build the life that will. And I think that's what I'm learning right now. I'm not rebuilding because I stopped caring about what I lost. I'm rebuilding because I finally care enough about what comes next to keep going anyway. So if you are somewhere in that messy middle too, where you are excited and exhausted, hopeful and grieving, proud of yourself, and occasionally just wondering what the hell you are actually doing right now, welcome to this channel. You are at the right place. We are figuring this out in real time. One question, one lesson, one mistake, one insight, one breakthrough at a time. And maybe you don't need to feel excited every single day. Maybe you just need to keep building it anyway. But if you're rebuilding your life, I have created a resource that can be very helpful in your rebuild journey. It's called Rebuild Anywhere, a 30-day guide to starting over with every single step that you need to take in the next 30 days to start rebuilding your life the right way. If you're interested in it, you can check the link on the description. And please like the video and share it with someone else that you know might benefit from this video. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that we can keep exploring such topics together. I'll see you in the next video.